for How to Succeed in South Africa Masterclass. My name is Tuija Pulkkinen. I'm responsible for commercial and trade development at Team Finland team here in South Africa. I joined the team in the beginning of August last year. Prior to joining the Team Finland, I worked in different new business development and sales roles in the private sector and have 20 plus years experience of opening new markets globally, including South Africa. My history with South Africa goes back to 2013 when I worked on a project in Cape Town. Then from 2017 until last June, as CEO of Edu Excellence, which is one of the Finnish education solutions companies, I led the business development activities for South African market. I wish in my early days when starting exploring this market, I would have been better aware of some key characteristics of this market, such as importance of co-creation and contextualizing your offering together with local partners, importance of social development impact in your value proposition, and how South Africa is a good test market. By implementing your business model here, the rest of Africa becomes easier to navigate. At Team Finland South Africa, we are committed to support you so that South Africa would be your company's next growth market and gateway for your expansion to other parts of Africa. We want to support in a practical way, identify and create opportunities, connect you to relevant people, networks and ecosystems, and coach you to succeed. This year, our focus sectors to create opportunities are energy, mining, bio and circular economy, agriculture and food, and digitalization and skills development as cross-cutting themes across all sectors. Over the coming years, South Africa, which is one of the most industrialized countries in Africa, offers attractive opportunities in development of digital and physical infrastructure, such as upgrading ports, cities, mines, energy plants, as well as reskilling and upskilling workforce and future talents. We are altogether 9 at Team Finland team here in South Africa, comprising experts at the Finnish embassy here in Pretoria and senior advisors at the Business Finland office in Johannesburg. Some of us are having 100% focus on South African market, and some others have also regional focus, especially here in Southern Africa. Our team is led by the Ambassador Anne Lammila. Today, Anne and several colleagues are following this masterclass, and Camilo Rabada will be presenting our services later during this masterclass. Over the next 1.5 hours, we will share experiences and insights of selected industry experts and you participants. Thank you for replying to our pre-survey. I will soon hand over to our moderator, Mika Jantunen. I will soon introduce him, and after that, Mika will run the program until 11:15 Finnish time, when Camilo will present services offered by Team Finland. After that, we will follow with questions and answers round, and I will close 11:25. Objective is to end this masterclass 11:30. A few reminders before I introduce our moderator. Be aware that we will be recording this masterclass. Regarding your questions, please use chat. Camilo will be following the chat. We'll address the questions at the end of the masterclass, and if we run out of the time, we'll answer later by email. We are delivering this masterclass in partnership with Interlead Oy. We have invited Mika Jantunen, CEO of Interlead, to moderate the industry experts discussion and summarize the pre-survey and roundtable discussion insights. Mika is very experienced with the South African market. He has been living and working here for 10 years. His company is operating both in Finland and in South Africa, So he knows what it takes to enter this market and expand business here. I will soon hand over to Mika so that he can tell more about his company and experience in South Africa and introduce the group discussion format and industry experts. Hope you will find this masterclass beneficial. We hope this conversation today will result in advancing your entry or expansion in South Africa. We are happy to continue providing support for you. Thank you. I will hand over to Mika. Mika, floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Tuija, for introduction. Really good to be here. Lekker to be here, like we say in South Africa. Lekker, South African word meaning having a good time, having a good energy. Actually, very important word for you all to remember. Actually, knowing that word takes you far in succeeding in business in South Africa. Another word, more of an African word that helps you succeed. Ubuntu. We are all in this together. We won't dig deeper into that word, but remember those two words. Those will take you far. Having a good time together. Success is not about just you succeeding, but we all succeeding. Your partners succeeding, your clients succeeding. It's a relationship-driven market. We will be discuss about that a little bit later, and that's why it's important that we remember those two words. I would like to start thanking organizers, Team Finland, local stakeholders in South Africa, Embassy of Finland in Pretoria, Business Finland South Africa office in Joburg. First of the kind, I'm really happy and honored to have a possibility to moderate this masterclass all together. As said, let's enjoy. Let's share insight. Let's continue and use this platform as a dialogue also in the future to communicate. While starting and growing the business in South Africa. I will start with 3-point intro before introducing our industry experts. To put a little bit of African context into this masterclass. South Africa being African market in many ways, the starting point for this all is the growth. Something that has struck me during the past 10 years. I've been advising companies and investors to land their business into Africa, that growth in Africa actually is very much of a consistent. It's been growing already past 20 years, and it will grow. To put a perspective where we are today, 2022, size of African market is something of a France all together. So that is where we are starting the growth story. GDP expected to increase by 2050 from current 3 trillion euros to 30 trillion euros. Population growth huge. In the continent, 1.2 billion people living. 2050, it's expected to increase even to 2.5 billion, and this of course drives the growth. Middle class is growing, middle class is spending more and driving the growth. It's really a great spot to be to start your growth journey altogether. However, there is still a lot of misconceptions about the market. We still think maybe too much the continent being development continent. Yes, it is developing, but at the same time, it's also growing. And in many cases, I have come across, it's been a surprise for many that actually the market is in many areas more advanced than anticipated and expected. And this of course leads us into a situation where you operate with your business in a very competitive environment where companies and markets already operate in that area you are targeting, and that requires commitment. It's not a first mover market anymore in many areas. Things are done, and that's why it requires so much commitment and preparation. I hear a lot of talk about low-hanging fruits. Yes, there are, but in order to pick those low-hanging fruits, you need to have a long-term plans. So for many of us, Africa requires also rethinking and rewiring our brains. Then our topic, beloved South Africa, a real business hub of Africa, by far best quality business infrastructure in place. If we look at the biggest companies in Africa, 25, maybe 20 of them are coming from South Africa, operating headquartered in Africa. It's main universities coming from that country. From Finnish perspective and from Team Finland's perspective, it's important to bear in mind that already tens of companies operating in the market. We have a lot of networks that include Finnish existing expertise. Universities, research institutions that create the foundation for your business journey. Of course, it's African market with African challenges, especially South Africa. Past decade been a tricky one. There's been quite a lot of political turmoil in the market. However, still South Africa to me is main gateway to African market, a good place to piloting advanced even industrialized country to get going. These 3 points I think are the ones to start this masterclass all together. Great to have all the participants in the masterclass. I'm extremely happy we have a wide variety of industries joining this masterclass. And from manufacturing to management consulting, to research institutions, agri-tech, food companies included, all of them, a lot of opportunities in place. We did a questionnaire before this masterclass, and we asked from you, when entering African market, what are the things you would like to know more, understand more, and what you said is what it takes to understand the market. It's a new market. Out of participants joining this masterclass, 2/3 do not have experience from the market. What it takes to identify partners, leads, how to do the networking. As said, we will hear this is a relationship driven market, how to build the relationships, how to create your sales messages, winning themes. Of course, when it comes to internationalization, it's always a question about funding, how to fund this growth. These things, all these things, we will be tackling today. That's a starting point, and for us, for you, there is a group of industry experts sharing their knowledge, their insights. I'm really happy to introduce industry experts. We have Karita from Business Finland, Chris White, Laura Lykkegaard, Shane van der Nest, and Omri from Agri Enterprises joining. Tens of years of experience from South African market, working in markets, seen it, done it. And may I start with Karita from Business Finland. Please introduce yourself, and one thing I would like to ask from you as an intro, what would be the lessons you have learned working in South African market?
Thank you, Danki Mika. Thank you very much for this, and thank you for this wonderful masterclass, first of its kind for Africa. So excellent, very well done. My name is Karita Tissari da Costa. I am with Business Finland at the moment. I lead a team for mega opportunities, so very large scale mega projects that are ecosystematic, specifically for Middle East and Africa as a region. I've been with Business Finland for about 3 years now, and before that, I actually come from the private sector, from the industry, and specifically in South Africa and Mozambique. I am a Finn by nationality, but I've spent about 20 years in Africa working for companies like Shell, a lot in the gas space specifically, as well as then Vodacom, telecommunications sector, and Mozambique Cellular. I spent about 12 years of my life in Mozambique as well. And of course, when you work in Southern Africa, you are always interlinked to South Africa one way or another. The dependencies are very, very strong. What I learned over the years, wonderful things. I think South Africa is a most welcoming environment for business. It is a highly sophisticated market, and like Mika said, there are many aspects that just in a way blows one's mind. The innovation, the ingenuity, the solutions orientation, etc., and the desire to work with trust-based partners like from Finland. Finland. I think there's a phenomenal base there to develop business. However, it also requires a certain level of flexibility and attitude. I think the kind of low exposure market entries that one would use in other more structured markets perhaps are not the most effective way. I think the kind of relationship driven environment that we operating in, it really requires networking. It requires customer centricity to understand what the customers are specifically looking for. It requires to be open to different kind of business models, the kind of flexibility to deliver your value proposition differently that you might in other markets. So I think those are sort of the key lessons. Sophisticated market, huge opportunities, but it requires a level of flexibility to really to engage and grab those opportunities. Thank you.
Fantastic, Carita. Great start. Chris, what have you learned from South African market?
I think that there's a very real need to understand local culture and local opportunities. There's always a lot of misperceptions and misconceptions coming into Africa. I think particularly in terms of South Africa, there's always the concerns around infrastructure, around energy, around the sort of fiscal policies, looking at Black empowerment, and there's a lot of negatives that need to be understood that can be turned into positives. The opportunity really is to understand that South Africa is kind of the leader and it is the gateway into Africa. Through the African Circular Economy Network, we work across 34 African countries, and pretty much anyone who's doing anything looks to South Africa as the lead to get these things into the system. It is a rapidly growing market, but one does need to be sensitive and know the local systems, how to work with Ubuntu and how to understand the empowerment structures and the tax structures and the energy structures, and work with those. There are opportunities in adversity, so we need to open up the applications and chat about where people may be feeling nervous.
Thanks. Would you, Chris, say market is complex to navigate?
It is, but that's why we have friends. So
Yep.
you know, we work with Business Finland, with Team Finland, and we work with other industries to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes. We stand on the shoulders of others and make sure that we try and avoid the hiccups along the way. That's why we have friends. That's why we work with these sort of arrangements, and that's why we're here to help guide as well.
Yeah, excellent. Great to have you on board. Let's move forward. Let's start with let's move forward with Laura. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Hi.
Fantastic, Laura. Great to have you. And if I understood correctly, you are right now in Denmark.
I'm right now in Copenhagen. I'm actually sitting in a cafe in Copenhagen, and
Yep.
I'm sorry about the background noise for that reason. So let me introduce myself. I am originally from Denmark. I have been in Cape Town for 29 years, and I have done nothing but setting up Scandinavian businesses in those 29 years. So anything from Eurooppalainen, you will know from Finland, to publishing, to H&M and wind farms, and right now I'm dealing with the Swedish Histens, the bed company. So
Correct.
That is what I do. I set up businesses for Scandinavians or Nordic companies in South Africa. I would like to build on what Chris and Carita said as well, because they're completely correct. When you establish in a new market, it often the things that keep people away is, of course, the large setup costs and the time that we spend navigating local compliance, for example. And that's where you have to deal with friends, as you say. You have to deal with someone who knows the market to minimize those risks. And I usually say that at least I'm, if I had to do business in, let's say, Bangkok or Peru or Sao Paulo, I would like to find a Laura on that side to help me with that. So that's basically what I do for these companies. And I would also say with the South Africans, ask for help. The South Africans are genuinely curious and they want to help. And when they engage with you, they mean it. They really mean it. And also, do not think that the South Africans are, they are very capable and have done amazing business themselves. And to go into business with most South Africans is a good idea because they are really good business people in South Africa.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, Laura. You are probably the best one out of us to answer based on what you have seen and worked with Scandinavian brands and companies. What is the biggest challenge Scandinavian companies face when they enter the market?
Yeah. There are many, but I think the biggest one is not knowing and the fear of what could go wrong and thinking that things would go wrong. I think the biggest challenge is if you start by yourself and don't ask for help and don't get someone to help you, that is the very wrong thing to do. You really need someone who knows the market to guide you. As the CEO of H&M said to me, I just need you to hold my hand while I start up. That's basically what you do, and that is what Business Finland and many of us can do. We like yourself, Mika. This is what we do for Nordic companies, and we're good at it.
Yeah. And you are heading right now a network company called Nordic House. Just briefly, what is Nordic House?
Correct. So Nordic House is first it was a dream of mine, and now it's a reality that we should gather all the Nordics in a much better way in South Africa, so that we stand stronger together. So for now, I have built a business network where one can become a member, and it's simply nordichouse.co.za. And then we make events where we network and where we introduce the members to local businesses in South Africa and introduce to each other, help you with your business and help each other basically. One day we will probably have a physical Nordic house as well. That is the plan. And for now, we are just working hard on this business network. So you're all welcome to join.
Yeah.
Ubuntu, exactly.
Okay, thanks a lot, Laura. Great to have you on board. Then we move forward. Shane, representing big Finnish industrial player in South Africa. Shane, great to have you on board.
On mute for 5 seconds. Sorry. Hi, Mika. Nice to see you again. Hi. And Laura, yes, I can echo that. Laura's initiative of the Nordics Business House is fantastic. I have attended a function already. The networking is unbelievable. And if you understand South Africa, networking is everything. It's not just in South Africa, it's in Africa as a continent. There are very big challenges. I've been working with Huhtamaki in South Africa now for almost 4 years. And, the culture of the Nordics coming into South Africa and operating a business in that culture is really a very good fit. I've found the level of risk for developing people is there. The business acumen is certainly there. The appreciation for a diverse culture base is certainly there. As Laura indicated, Mika, yes, there are challenges. There are absolutely no doubt challenges. No water, no electricity, of infrastructure's not great, but you can navigate around. We run a very successful business in South Africa at the moment. We are expanding in South Africa. We're putting down another factory in KZN along the East Coast, and looking very forward to managing to service the market that exists. One big message: don't be scared. Don't be scared. You can navigate if you go the right road with the right people and the right network. It can work.
And navigation is the keyword here.
Absolutely right, Mika. Yes, it's not just political. Political is changing all the time, but certainly one of the avenues that one would like to navigate. You do need network with proper, solid business people, guys with experience, the know-how, the energy, and that have already paid the school fees. And once you've aligned yourself with a good business leader in South Africa, you will find that things do progress relatively smoothly in a very difficult environment.
Yeah, and you are now heading, if I have understood correctly, 1,600 people operation.
Yes.
And if I have understood rightly, you are doing in practice what we discussed earlier, South Africa being a gateway market for other parts of Africa. Why is that?
Because of its economic hub. We are probably the strongest economy in Africa. Well, on the southern part of Africa. Nigeria is certainly strong, but very difficult to do business there and dangerous, needless to say. There are some other nice emerging countries like Rwanda and Uganda, but for comfortability and easing in almost of a European-based company into Africa, South Africa does offer a platform where you can have a professional discussion. You can understand what the potential is out there, and you can navigate into SADC as well as into the COMESA areas with a relatively eased risk to the venture. The logistics from South Africa into the rest of Africa is very expensive. So we certainly could explore other manufacturing opportunities in the middle of Africa, looking into the Zambia area. There's a good consistent supply of electricity and utilities. The infrastructure is not that bad around the metropoles. So, one could certainly have a look at expanding out from a manufacturing base into the middle of Africa relatively comfortably. Yeah,
great. Great to have you on board. And then finally, Omri from Agri Enterprises. Please introduce yourself and your great organization.
Thanks very much, Mika, and thanks to Team Finland. It's an honor to speak to all of you. My name is Omri. I'm the CEO of Agri SA Enterprises. We're a full affiliate of Agri SA, which is the largest organizational agriculture unit in Africa. Prior to that, I was head of the Deloitte African Agribusiness Unit, specializing in African penetration for different European companies and American companies, etc. So maybe just to talk a little bit about agriculture and maybe pin down some concrete numbers, so to speak, to the audience. We've got an industry that's about 36 billion euro in size. We export about 10 billion euros of products in the food and fiber industries. Finland's, I think, is about 1.7 billion. We are the largest citrus producer in the world. We are the largest macadamia producer in the world, and we have the largest aloe companies in the world in South Africa. I've been to Helsinki. It was really a great experience, a little bit cold for me. But here in South Africa, we've got the best weather in the world. I'm completely convinced of that.
By far.
Prior to leaving South Africa to Europe, I've never seen snow. So We also have a massive forestry industry. We also have the largest fisheries industry in Africa. And we are by far the largest processor of food in Africa. 60% of our exports goes into Africa, and a lot of it goes into Europe, Asia, etc. So maybe just some things that I've learned with regards to doing business in South Africa, and maybe some strategic considerations, which is always very important. I think the first for European companies is geographic diversification. So, you know, we offset climates, our summers, your winter, etc. So there's definitely, from an agriculture perspective, a geographic diversification. Our growth rate in agriculture is between 5 and 10%. Our compound annual growth rate was about 4.7% over the past 2 years during COVID. Like the speakers have said, Shane, etc., it's an important entry point into Africa. We've got by far the most advanced financial systems in Africa, internet systems in Africa, etc. I mentioned the counter-cyclical thing. I also think that the war in Eastern Europe with Ukraine and Russia will depress the European economy. And in a growing economy like South Africa or Africa, it's a nice offset strategically for companies to have. And the other thing about South Africa is that our nature here is amazing. Just some of the agriculture dynamics here. I think one of the audience, Tuomo, asked who are the friends. The friends are companies like ours that are stitched into specific industries like the agriculture, agro-processing, forestry and fisheries industry, that understands who the players are, that understand who the CEOs are, who's doing what moves, what's strategically important to who. In agriculture specifically, we've got a very strong Afrikaans culture. That's my native language. It's like Dutch, but a little bit different. And it's in agriculture, it's quite a big thing. That language, it's Afrikaans. The adoption of technology, etc., is extremely important for us. I mean, we're currently doing a project with the Israeli government. We'll be introducing Israeli tech to South African tech companies. And many of our companies are internationally linked. So we do business across the globe in many respects. So I'm sure the team will notify you, but there's an important agriculture event in May. It's called NAMPU. Literally everybody who's anybody is at that event. It's in Bothaville, where we actually showcase the power and muscle of South African agriculture. So yes, Mika, that's just my opening statements for you.
Great. Really happy to have you on board. Also from this perspective that, as we all know, one of the key themes for African development and for African growth is to get agriculture right. And to get that agriculture business growing. Just briefly about the agriculture, because there are some agri-tech and food-related companies participating into this masterclass. What do you see are the main challenges South African agriculture sector faces right now? You can add to African agriculture too, but if we focus on South Africa, what would you are working for in terms of tackling challenges?
Well, I think the first thing is we've got a very diverse agriculture industry. You know, we've got dry climates, we've got tropical climates, we're surrounded by the oceans, very strong oceans economy. Climate change was obviously quite a big thing here. In 2016, we had one of the worst droughts ever. This year was the wettest year ever. So I think everybody's affected by climate change and what that means. That's one thing. I think there's a challenge with regards to our infrastructure. I mean, it's not great, but it's not broken either. But in that presents certain specific opportunities, you know, upgrading the port systems, you know, working with the private sector to actually alleviate some of these constraints. I must say we're an awesome tech adopter. So the agri-tech we have here is kind of on par with what you find in the world. We've got most of the biggest mechanization, agrochemical and processing companies here in South Africa. So that makes a big difference in terms of the adoption of technology. But therein is a big opportunity as well. And I think that the one thing that we've seen is in terms of input costs for fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides, glyphosates, are going up very steeply because of COVID and now because of the war in Eastern Europe. That's probably our biggest challenge at the moment, and I think it's a global challenge that most agriculture industries will experience.
Excellent. Thank you so much, and thank for intros to all our industry experts. Let's get going with this one theme for this masterclass: how to succeed in South Africa. And this discussion I would like to kickstart is about get to know the market. We have already discussed about various misconceptions companies we all might have in terms of doing business in Africa. We have discussed about the business culture being relationship driven, but let's start with the business culture, because that's the tricky one for many companies entering the market. What would we like to say about the business culture? How it differs, for example, from European or other business cultures? And you mentioned, Omri, you've been working with agri-tech companies landing their business into Africa. What are your experiences about that? And what would you advise companies looking at South Africa? How it differs?
Yeah, I think in our business, we have an advisory business unit. We've got a financial services one and a rural development one. So, many European countries are very well advanced in terms of infrastructure, doing business generally. I think in South Africa, the ease of doing business is actually a lot easier than in many other countries. But as the panel have said, I think the one key thing is you need to work with people that understand the culture, that knows the sector, that knows the people in the sector, and that understands the soft underbelly of doing business in South Africa. And I think that greases the wheels a lot. Also understanding a little bit about things that you wouldn't have in Finland, about stuff like Black economic empowerment, what that means, rural development, what that means. And on the flip side, understanding you have to have a pioneering type of culture to operate in. An example, I brought Land O'Lakes, which is one of the biggest cooperatives in the world, from America. I brought them into South Africa. We acquired a company called Villa, which is an agrochemical company, and then another one called Intelligro under the Winfield brand. And I saw, working with the Americans and working with the South Africans in the industry specifically, it's a little bit different because, how can I put it? We don't have such an aggressive culture as the Americans did. And it's important to understand that when you deal with, let's say, Afrikaans-speaking people and you want to do a deal with them, you have to get to know them first. They need to trust you and that type of thing. And a big part of what I had to do is actually build the trust between Land O'Lakes and Villa, the American companies, and the owners here and so on. So that's maybe one thing where it differs quite a bit.
Yeah. So what you are saying is this is the network-driven culture a lot, and of course that comes from the history of Africa and the traditional tribe culture 3,000 different languages spoken in Africa altogether. In South Africa, 11 official languages. So it's not as inclusive market as it is probably elsewhere. So understanding the networks, understanding not only the growth, but understanding who are the decision makers is the key. Yeah. Anyone else from industry experts want to comment on their remarks, advices in terms of how to understand the business culture?
I think, sorry, it's Shane here from...
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the points that Omri actually made there is this black economic empowerment term around South Africa. Now, I have served on the EU Chamber of Commerce's board, where we did a survey around business wanting to start up in South Africa. And one of the major concerns was, in fact, this black economic empowerment. Firstly, I do believe that the term is totally wrong. It is more, we should more view it as a transformation of business and of the economic platform. We should certainly not be giving any business forum or environment a culture or a creed or a color. It should be business governing any process. But one of the big fears was that once a business is established in South Africa, what happens to it going forward? Is there a process of indigenization that might take place? Would you have to give away some of your business shares? The answer to that is definitely no. You do not need to give away business shares. You can adopt a partner, and when you do look at things like that, and if you do need to know that that partner has to add value to the business, whether it be from a commercial perspective, whether it be from a cash injection. Do not just take a partner because you want to tick a box on your Black Economic Empowerment scorecard. There is also restrictions on business. A lot of companies will ask you for a rating before you can do business with the government. And those are also issues that we could, from a South African perspective, navigate through. So the Black Economic Empowerment was one of the key prohibitors for Europeans doing business in South Africa. But as I say, things are certainly moving around. Things are certainly changing from a political perspective. And there's a lot of very good, thriving businesses in South Africa around, from the Nordics, from the European sector, from the manufacturing cluster. So visas was another issue. The duration of stay by expats was another issue. But again, all of these things can be negotiated when you do look at the South African business climate. Yeah. And for those who do not completely know what the BBBEE is, Shane, just in a nutshell, what is it? What is Black Economic Empowerment? So there were certain criteria that were set by the South African government to ensure that a lot of the economic activity was shared or apportioned to previously disadvantaged communities, i.e. Black communities. And there were scorecards that almost channeled you to buy from certain companies, to employ certain criteria in ratio to the demographic, to upskill certain people, to pass on levies to government to use for upskilling people, to give away equity to a previously disadvantaged resource who would then be opening doors for you to trade on a level. So you would get a rating between 1 and 8, and that rating would then show how transformed your business is. The higher the rating, or in this case, the lower the rating, if you were a level 1, you would be a completely black-owned company. A level 2, you would be there would be ownership, but your other criteria like your procurement.
Yeah, correct. I think we lost you, Shane. Another question in terms of understanding the market, understanding the business culture is how to really understand real demand. Real demand, of course, meaning that is someone really willing to buy from your services and your products, comparing to potential demand. And for my own experience is that for companies, it is sometimes difficult to really understand the difference between real demand and potential demand. I'm sure, for example, Laura, in your business, in your projects, you have come across with this need to explain the real demand. How do you approach this market understanding issue in South Africa?
Can I perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just scared that you're going to think that no one's hearing you. So, I mean, what we generally do for clients is we actually do the research, both qualitative and quantitative. We look at the research, we look at the trends, we look at the substitutes, products, we look at the market growth in different markets. And we always advise people to buy into companies that are actually in that specific space already, that understands the demand and supply kind of factors. So research and talking to people that are in that space really gives you a good idea. And looking at the trends, 5-year, 10-year trends, backwards and forwards.
Do you have experience on finding out what is the real demand? How difficult it is or easy to find out the readiness of buyers to really invest?
I think it's industry specific. So I mean, we're the largest mining country in the world, the 5th largest mining country in the world. There's a lot of statistics that are available in that respect. The same in agriculture and financial services. So remember, South Africa also has a very strong informal market, which is probably about 30% of the market size. So that's something that you can't really calculate for. But generally, we go to the source and we determine the real demand there.
Yeah, correct. My own advice in these cases is try to go into those sources that really can identify the real demand. Of course, it's important to understand the potential demand because growth is anyway there, but go into sources to understand. Chris, you want to give a comment on this?
Yeah, just to add to that, I think it's very important to also note the expected and projected growth of Africa as a consumer market. So we talk consumer not only just in terms of perishable goods, but mined products and pretty much anything. The reality looking going forward is that we are working from a Pan-African perspective quite strongly to look at some things like the African Free Trade Agreement. And what that allows us to look at is to develop opportunities in terms of penetrating those other African markets from a base in South Africa. So that really is a nice way to look at it. We're already seeing, I think it was Omri mentioned earlier, that people are also looking at establishing now in places like Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, and there's some great opportunities in terms of driving different project developments forward. what we want to try and also understand is in terms of that free trade agreement, how that could have an impact with regards to finances. And I think there's one's got to do a lot of homework in terms of understanding the financial structure of systems. So do your homework in terms of that. But the market penetration opportunity is there. And from the perspective of talking to our northern neighbors and the Finnish businesses, there is a huge opportunity in terms of the drive now with the European Green Deal to look at the opportunity in engaging directly with that import-export opportunity into the North-South trade. So when you look at it from an agriculture perspective, it could also be mining. We're looking at local beneficiation, but also the opportunity in terms of driving energy. So the Ukraine scenario at the moment is a massive problem. We've seen that have a huge impact in terms of energy costs across Europe. And some of the opportunity from an agricultural perspective is we have massive amounts of land here and fantastic growing conditions in Africa. And there's huge opportunities to look at perhaps development of a biomass market into Europe, which would offset the carbon footprint and look at meeting the net zero 2050 emission requirements of the European side as well. So one's got to look at it also to understand that connection from north and south.
Correct. Thanks for comments. So I think important thing is to really start to live the business culture, and that won't happen if you don't really understand the business culture, and from there to interpret the market you are addressing your product. And I think that was a very valid point Omri made, that informal markets are there, and I have seen estimates from in African context that informal markets out of GDP might even be 30 to 40% of it. And one important point is that statistics in Africa are not as high quality level as they are elsewhere. So you need to really work on your market understanding phase, market research, and from there move forward. Second theme I would like to discuss with you is something what we already been discussing about and touch upon, and that is trust and creating the trust, and it's of course important from this perspective that every sales marketing related operations end up creating the trust, objective being the trust. Without trust there won't be sales, no deals to be made. And I'm also a Finn as a national, same way as Karita, and my next question goes to Karita, because we both can interpret how Finns define trust, how it differs in South Africa or in Africa. What do you think?
This is an excellent point. I was in fact going to intervene on the business culture side to highlight this, but I'm glad this is the next topic. Trust, indeed. When you come from Finland, you come from a homogeneous nation where pretty much 99% of the people think and act and go about business in a similar manner, and you have well-established processes and things. We have a high trust-based culture, but it's also because of the structure and the nature of our nation, right? And then you go to South Africa, you go to 12 official languages, you go to various ethnic groups, you have various ethnic backgrounds living there, large populations of Portuguese or Italians or Chinese or Indians. You go to a very dynamic environment. The interpretation of trust then becomes dispersed and scattered. And that's one of the things that when you do business in South Africa, you will be doing business with multiple cultures that all have a different view on it. And having operated, worked a long time in the telecommunications space where I had to compete fiercely against less trust-based competitors, shall I say, that has left its mark across Africa entirely. So it is extremely important that we carry our values as Finns and we constantly demonstrate that in practice as well. And I think that is a really key competitive advantage that we have, especially when we have to consider that we operate in a highly price-sensitive market often, and the temptation there is to go with the pricing rather than the quality aspects or the total cost, the TCO aspects, or whatever it may be. But I think also much of the experiences that African governments as well as large private enterprises have now experienced over the past 10 years with solutions that have not worked has scarred, but it also has opened up this opportunity to the kind of value propositions that Finland pretty much stands for. What we offer really works, and that is something that I think is really important to demonstrate in your engagements with potential buyers.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a very valid point, that we are coming from different trust based culture, and we our concept of trust is different. I have always said that in Finland you can pretty much take a cold call to president, and you even might have a possibility that you get hold of him. It's not working same way in South Africa. You first need to create a network. You need to engage with various stakeholders, and from there create the commitment. Shane, can I ask you any advices on building the trust with South African stakeholders and clients? Any good advices? What would you say?
Look, it's I have to echo the sentiments. It is a very, very key element to business, but it's also a very it's a touchy climate in South Africa because of the diverse cultures, the diverse you name it, backgrounds of people. And I think also understanding that there has been quite a large amount of criminality, cyber crime, crime in the streets, everybody trying to unload a couple of rands from the next person. It is a problem. We do hear some horrific stories. There is a large degree of corruption currently happening in South Africa. So the climate currently is not a very trusting climate. Can it be overcome? Of course it can be overcome. And the way that one does that is really a meeting of the mind and let the business guide the process. Let the ethical, moral business principles guide the process. Once everybody complies to those, you'll find that it does go relatively smoothly again. But trust, certainly one key element that is worth unpacking in this forum. Right now, climate in South Africa, very corrupt, very untrustworthy. Again, you've got to alliance with the right structures, with the right networks. I do find that the Nordics and the Finnish business have got a fantastic trust relationship with the businesses currently operating inside South Africa. We do find a safe haven in the Finnish embassy, and we do rely very heavily on activation of certain lobby principles with the government. We do find a safe haven, speaking our minds in the embassy, and we do find that the message does get across to the powers that be in South Africa. And that's creating a fantastic trust relationship through an avenue that wasn't previously available to the common South African. So when one does want to come into South Africa in the business forum, please explore through the Business Finland and through the embassy. You will find that that does smooth the path quite considerably where trust goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And the key point here, key message is, it is possible to create trust-based relationships and necessity, but it might take a little bit more time and requires a little bit more investment. What it takes in if you would be operated inside Scandinavia, for example.
Yeah, but investment, not in terms of monetary, but in terms of time. Exactly. And put that time in the right place. Go through the embassies, go through the business forums, go through the tried and tested.
Exactly. Omri, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to something Shane said earlier. Everybody in South Africa, almost everybody in South Africa speaks English. So although there's 11 different languages, we all speak a common language, which is English. Mm. So that's important to know. It's not like you're going to get a translator if you come here and do business here. Everybody speaks English. It's the business language. The other thing is, in South Africa has an extremely strong business acumen and mindset. You know, I think in that respect, you know, the opportunities there for South Africans to work with Finnish companies and Finnish companies to work with South African companies. I don't think there's, you know, that trusting can be built very quickly on business principles, business acumen. You know, we've got awesome laws here. We are governed by the Companies Act. Our legal system works well. So I just wanted to pitch, you know, paint that picture as well. There's many multinational companies that are invested in South Africa and that work in South Africa very successfully in the business world.
Excellent. Great. Let's move forward, because in the end, this is a sales game to make deals, and I wanted to discuss a little bit about the need to show the value, because many times I'm feeling that companies entering the African market are entering the market from their own perspective, with their own products, with their product features, and not that much talking about real problems these solutions solve. And sometimes I even hear from the clients that, great, but it's only a nice to have solutions, and showing the value and focusing on selling the value is the key. Just a question to you all: what kind of sales environment South African business ecosystem is all about, and do you share this view that focusing on value is extremely important to get your business going? Chris, Shane, go ahead.
I might venture a comment. There are so many good practices, and specifically around the sustainability environment coming through from Finland. I think there's so much that we can learn from the education system. There's so much that we can learn from a culture perspective in South Africa, and a lot of people are very, very willing to share with the South African environment on those specific topics. But to make it last, you really need to display the value and to get that buy-in from the various consumer base. You cannot just hand out a T-shirt and a Kentucky Streetwise 5 and expect there to be a major shift in the market just because you got something for nothing. You need to show the value today, you need to show the value tomorrow, and you need to show the value next year. And I think if you can encapsulate that, come through, this is not something that's going to be played in a short environment. This is a medium to long-term game. And if you've got the risk appetite to stick it out, you're going to be successful.
Yeah, and of course, this all comes back to understanding the market, understanding the business culture, and in many cases, if you can't create that trust and communicate that trust, you have big difficulties in showing the value to your clients. Karita, please go ahead.
Thank you. I think many times as well, what I've seen from my experience in terms of how many Finnish companies position their products, they might go with the functionalities in their messaging. As the spear, and I think that works really well in Finland, where you have a buyer who most likely knows exactly what they're looking for, and you have a seller who has those functionalities, and then you're looking for the match and you're carving a deal out of that. Of course, it depends on industry, depends on how new the technology is, how widely it's adapted already in the target market. But more often than not, the viewpoint across Africa is that people are asking, what's in it for me? How does it solve the pain points I have? What keeps me up at night? If it solves those and it gives me benefits to that, that's the value it has. And therefore, we need to be able to position the products in that value, the benefits, look at what does it, deliver in the short term, like Shane was also saying, medium term, longer terms, and what are the use cases for it? Can it be used for other purposes as well? So this kind of benefits and value driven dialogue then of course is becomes more important than the functionalities and the technology behind it. That becomes almost secondary in capturing at least the attention of the buyers.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I have noticed also is that you almost need to have a local references. You need to have those use cases for your products. And what I really want to emphasize that please focus on that getting those references, because it's not enough that you have done some fancy things, great things. No question about it. High quality things somewhere else, because those buyers in South Africa understands that yes, it works somewhere else, but in order to work here, we need references. Have you come across, Karita, into these kind of things and issues?
Excellent point. So often when we sit down with potential customers in Africa, the viewpoint is that your solutions are excellent in your context. How is this relevant to me in my context? And the onus then is to indeed demonstrate that. And for that, those use cases are really important. They don't necessarily have to be in South Africa. They would be in Africa or somehow relatable market. And if they are in Finland, then there still needs to be that story build of why is this relevant to your environment or your goals and targets, what you want to achieve. If you can't, that kind of connection is imperative to then building the dialogue and the common ambition and the trust and etc. going forward. And these are then the opportunities to really sit down and gain the kind of insights that you need to create this story. What keeps the customer up at night, and what are the how do you solve these problems? And how have you solved these problems somewhere else?
Yes,
really are the key points.
Exactly. And our final points. This is also something we discussed. I think Shane mentioned that this is a lot of navigation that are needed, and for really making a commitment to the market, you need to focus on strategy. Create, I would say, near-term, long-term plans and objectives, and create the vision, because for that vision, people and companies tap into, and in many cases, I have personally seen that the clients asking, "What is your plan?" And one thing clients, partners want to avoid is this situation where we have a saying in Finland, trying with the stick, the ice, just testing the market. And for that reason, the strategy is so important. On the other hand, I need to say that because the market environment and situation changes constantly, also for that purpose, it is important. Guys, working in South Africa, how well prepared, to your mind, Finns are creating South Africa specific strategies? Any comments?
Yeah, Mika, I think that there is a lot of education that comes into this. Trust, as we spoke about, is a key issue. Getting to know people, getting to know your market, understanding that value, driving that through empowerment is not about giving away your business. It's about that trust, because it's creating supplier development. It's looking at skills development, enterprise development, and those are all issues around corporate social responsibility, which is trust. It's about transformation, which is trust. So don't think you can come in here and sell a product into the market because you think you have a good product. It's just not going to work.
Exactly.
So that strategic planning needs to know that market, the trust, and your unique selling value. That unique selling value, I think Shane said as well, is that something you need to refine constantly, because we are dealing with a very price-sensitive market. You need to understand the LSM market that you're looking at in terms of your product. They're very price sensitive, and there's not much loyalty. So branding and trust and those sort of issues are key going forward, and that comes out of a lot of understanding that business culture. So that's why we keep talking about networks. Get to understand people. You've got a great team with Team Finland who understand some of those issues in South Africa. If you're going into the agricultural market, you've got Omri. If you're going, it doesn't matter. There are people in that market who've been there and done it. Listen to other people. We often see that we get this Eurocentric view coming in, and it's one of the things through the African Circular Economy Network that we're very, very particular about, is that listen to local expertise. Don't come and tell us how to do it or how you did it in Europe. It's going to be very different here, and we need to create that. That's going to be part of your vision.
Yeah, exactly. And for that reason, you need a plan. You need to know where you are going and what you want. We need to be closing this discussion very, very soon. But Omri, final words to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I've done some work for you. I haven't worked for any Finnish companies, but I've worked for Syngenta, Bayer, Land O'Lakes, John Deere, Massey Ferguson on African penetration strategies. And the first thing is you must know exactly what you want. If you can't articulate what you want, then no one else is going to understand it. The second thing is you need to understand the environment. And from a penetration perspective, it's partnerships are key. So those are the three takeaways that I have.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Wise words. Thank you so much, Omri. Now it's time to close this discussion and hand over to Business Finland. Camilo, please take us through how Business Finland is supporting Finnish companies, organizations to enter South African market. Muted.
Thank you so much, Mika, and all the experts. What an incredibly interesting discussion. And as you indeed say, we have here in a whole team at your disposal. You have seen our mugshots from LinkedIn earlier in the presentation. Whenever the Finnish government works outside of Finland, those government institutions, they join under the joint banner of Team Finland. So what is Team Finland? Team Finland is an ecosystem of Finnish public stakeholders. We assist Finnish companies in their exports and international growth. And you can imagine stakeholders like the embassy, Business Finland, other ministries and funding organizations, and any government stakeholder. Here in South Africa, we've got an embassy in Pretoria. We've got a Business Finland office in Sandton, and we work very closely together in our planning and execution of how we assist Finnish companies to do business in South Africa. The services that we provide are many services. For example, we are completely continuously generating market intelligence and information. We produce such reports which we can make available. We are constantly looking proactively at the market and seeing where do we think that market is going. How can we influence in order for it to use the Finnish strongholds. When we find such opportunities, we can publish them for the Finnish companies to learn about them. Once a company wants to come to this market, we can give them all kinds of advice from strategy to looking at their value proposition in their planning, and we help you, we assist you with establishing the right connections in this market, and that is what I think everybody has been talking about, those relations, whether they are business relations or trusted service providers such as legal services or accounting services, to find consultants who can help you and to articulate your relations with government. That is the network that we help you assist. And I want to also quickly show what we can assist you with in the sense of funding, and I'll just click on that link here, and on the Business Finland website you can find all the and I'll put this link in the chat. You can find all the different kinds of funding that Business Finland can assist you with. And there is a whole lot of funding, and there is also internationalization funding in those options. So I definitely suggest everybody to study that website. I'll put the link in the chat right now. So yeah, we are very happy if you do business. We want you to succeed. We want you to do business, make money, and then pay taxes in Finland. And that is our goal. We're always on your side. We are a trusted neutral partner. We don't charge fees, and everything you discuss with us is confidential. So in this work we have assisted various Finnish companies to do good business in South and Southern Africa, and we've also, together with the embassy, created some really good flagship projects that are more and more showing the South African audience that Finland is the go-to country for innovation, for sustainability, for digital solutions, for education, and for many other technologies. So please reach out to us, to Tuija or to myself, if you wish to explore this market further after this masterclass. Thank you.
Thank you, Camillo. And what I liked most was we work together. It's a real ecosystem. Also, companies coming to South Africa that can participate. According to our program, we have a final round of question and answers. We can address these questions also later on. And it's important that if you have any questions, you send those questions, ask those questions from us, as we said in the beginning, this is a dialogue we are kickstarting with this masterclass. But Camillo, do we have any questions in chat we would like to address, or something important?
So we have a few questions, not a whole lot, and I definitely encourage everyone to, if you still have a question on your mind, to put it on the chat right now. The first question was asked by Tuomo Hysalo from AW Energy. He said, and I think that the answers by now are well known, but I remember Chris White in the beginning said you need friends in this market, and Tuomo asks, what is a friend? Is that like a code word? How do you describe a friend? I think there's been a lot spoken about the value of networks and trusts, but maybe Chris wants to give a last word on how do you make such friendships? Where do you find a friend? How do you know if somebody is your friend?
Okay, the first thing you have to do is you have to have a braai with them, or a barbecue. I think Shane and Omri have all said we're very much a handshake country. We need to see faces. We need to create those relationships. It's vitally important.
Yeah.
But there are a number of ways of doing that. So you have organizations like Agri-SA. We have different organizations across the sectors. So if we're looking at energy, agriculture, infrastructure, there are a number of different networks that one can get involved in. Networking is vitally important. One of the things I do, obviously, is the African Circular Economy Network. Sharing information. We want to make Africa grow, and I think that you want to make sure that you do this with partners. Don't try and do it alone in Africa. If you think you can come in here with a great product and it's going to sell, and you're confident that it works in Europe, think again. You need to just focus and change that mindset. But that's getting to know people like those on the call here who can help guide you in that direction. And that's really what it's all about, it's relationships. Remember, from a historical perspective, South Africa was isolated for a very long time. We have a very innovative sector. We have amazing science and technology systems in terms of innovation, but you need to understand all these things. So things like the labor market, you need to understand how to navigate that. That can be complicated. The energy market, you need to understand the logistics market. These are all components that often, if you're trying to put a business plan together and throw it on the table, if you don't know the local systems, then you're going to make a mistake. So use the networks that are out there. There's the Chamber of Business. There's all these other different networks in the different sectors. Use them, and Business Finland can help point you in the right direction there.
And one more comment in terms of friends. You need to be present in order to create relationships and friendships. You are not able to only communicate through emails or Teams. My advice: be present, go there, embrace the culture, and have fun. Enjoy the really exciting market, versatile market with huge opportunities. But please be present in the market. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mika. There's
Yep.
one more question,
Okay.
and maybe a last one. There was one about the internet connection. I think that has been answered, that there's good, stable internet. But then Tord Johnson from Wärtsilä is asking, could you give your view of the time aspect of progress, advantages and challenges? I'm trying to understand what that question means, but it means, I guess another way of asking that question is, how fast can you do business?
Very relevant question. And now I'm answering out of my own experience. Things can be extremely slow, or things can be extremely fast, depending on how good you are at defining the value, understanding the local environment, creating the trust, and showing the commitment and a vision. That's my take. I have seen extremely slow processes, extremely fast processes that you really can affect. What do you, Omri, think? Looks you are muted.
Yeah, I think with the right type of advisors, extremely fast.
Yeah, true. Okay, as said, we want to continue this discussion. Your first point of contacts, of course, are Camilla and Tuija from Embassy. But let's keep the conversation going, dialogue going. Now it's time to stop, though. We have used 1.5 hours now. Personally, I have enjoyed a lot for this discussion. I'm so happy you all participated. Huge thanks to all the industry experts. I really value your time spent on this. Tuija, it's your time for closing remarks and next steps.
Thank you, Mika. I'm trying to share just my slides. Just a second. Okay, so as it's already 11:30 in Finland, I'm not going to speak long. Just as a conclusion, as everybody has said, it's very important to get to know the market. So my message is come and spend time here to explore and understand the market, understand the business culture, build networks, and to create trust. And we all are here to assist you. So from Team Finland, we would be helping you to open the doors to the public and private sector and connect to like industry experts and other networks. We hope this masterclass has delivered its expectations and would help you advance your entry. As Mika said, we will continue delivering these kind of masterclasses. Our plan is next to dive into one of the sectors, so most likely it will be food. And we will share what's coming in our newsletters. We will soon publish the first newsletter targeted to Finland. So if you want to follow what's going on in the market and what's coming, for example, in terms of events, as mentioned earlier here, please subscribe to our newsletter. In South Africa, we have a special campaign this year to increase awareness of Finnish digital innovations. So we have started kind of country branding campaign Team Finland on LinkedIn. And here's the address if you want to start following. Later in the year, we will start balancing and then also sharing the information from this market. And we also have a Twitter account here. And as Camilo said earlier, feel free to contact us. We will connect you then, Camilo and me, we will connect you with other experts in Team Finland or our networks like Chris, Omri, and Carita, Laura, and Shane, and all other networks we are having here. And finally, I'd like to thank you for joining this masterclass. Then Carita, Chris, Laura, Omri, and Shane, thank you so much for participating, giving your time and your contribution. Finally, great thanks to Mika for sharing your insights and moderating this masterclass. So kiitos and have a nice day.
Thank you. Kiitos. Bye-bye.